Alright guys, here we are. I am making a little tutorial here on how I do my hyperlapse shots. One thing to take note here, let me actually go back to the main page here, that I forgot to tell you while I was shooting this, is you want to make sure that your settings for your photo taking is set to RAW. And then the aspect ratio, I always do 4:3 because that covers the whole sensor. 16:9, it's going to crop it a little bit. You'll still get a high resolution image, but it'll, crop the top and the bottom, and then you'll lose some of that. So if you wanted to be able to tilt up and down, or not really tilt, but pan up and down with your in post-production, then it would be a little harder to do that. So I am downtown here, and I want to get a little shot of this as the Opera House right in front of me. And I want to do a hyperlapse. So I'm going to go down here to my settings, click on hyperlapse. And then obviously I'm overexposed. I'm going to change to waypoint hyperlapse here. I'm going to adjust some exposure settings. Here we go. Let's get that changed there a bit. Alrighty. So we'll get some 15th of a second there. We're probably going to want more because we want to get some streaks. So I want to do we'll do a third or a fourth. That way we get more time on our intervals. Alright, actually I want it to be overexposed a little bit because the sun is going down. Alright, so 3, 5, 4. Okay. So now I'm getting out of that. I want to get a little bit lower here. It's obviously a stoplight. Let me kind of look at my area, see what I got around. There's a building there. Alright, let me go down lower here. Alright. Right about there. Let's go over here a little. So I think I want this to be my endpoint here. So let's go back to the hyperlapses. We're going to do waypoints. Now let me select this waypoint here. That's my first. I'm going to actually go in reverse, so that will be my ending of the shot. So let's go over here. Let's go here. Let's move up a little bit. Now I'm going to come this way and up a little bit. And do another. Darn it. There we go. Okay, now I got another waypoint spot there. And let's go over here a little. Go up higher. And then over this way. Oh look, they got a interesting little skylight there I didn't know they had. So we got that there. Let's kind of go back a little bit, come around. Alright, okay, so that'll be that. So I got 3 points there. I'm going to do 2-second intervals. I want this to be like a 10-second hyperlapse, I think. And then we're going to do, so we're going to go, sequence is going to go in reverse. And now you just go ahead and click the button there for beginning your hyperlapse, and it says it's going to take a little over 8 minutes for this hyperlapse. So now we just sit and wait for the hyperlapse to finish. It's 250 frames, and you see him clicking off there. So we'll probably just fast forward through this part. And then, you know, once we get the hyperlapse finished, we'll go to the studio and we will do the editing where all of the major magic happens. All right, you got the hyperlapse shot taken care of there. So now we're going to head to the studio and I'm going to show you how to process that shot. Okay, everyone, we are here in the laptop. We have finished shooting our hyperlapses and we're back in the studio. All right, so I've inserted my memory card here and we get, you know, the little couple folders here. We go in here, there's a hyperlapse folder, so you go inside there. I have some in here that I shot previously, plus there was a few others that I shot the same evening after I shot that first one, but I just want to show you where those files are. So in here is where the DNG raw photo files are. I want to change the view here so you can see, so you can just double check like, oh, yep, that's definitely the Sarasota Opera House. So we're going to save that. We're going to download that. I made a folder here, Hyperlapse Tutorial, and we're going to pull that folder. Well, first I like to be organized here, so I'm going to make a folder and call this raw photos. All right, and we're gonna pull, drag and drop that right into there. And that'll take a few minutes there. It was about almost 10 gigabytes worth of photos. I think there was like 250 photos in there. That makes about a 8 to 10 second hyperlapse, depending on whatever frame rate you decide to go with. And then let me show you over here now. Your drone makes a little video from your hyperlapse here. Let me go to the thumbnail view. And a lot of people, you know, like to use that. You know, it's okay, you can use it, but you get way better latitude in your exposure and your color and just everything when you use raw photos. Not to mention it is a larger video, usually you know, the raw photos are like the full sensor, so it's like 5.1K, as to where these are processed videos that the drone makes are usually like, I think up to 4K, which is still good, but you get a little bit more resolution with the raw photos. So I'm going to drag and drop that here into there. All right, I'm going to look at my properties here and just double check to see if I was right. Nope, this is only a slightly under 1080p video, but I think you can have the drone make it a 4K video when it's done processing. So we are almost done here with the download of the raw photos. I'm going to go ahead and click out of that folder for the drone and just let that finish there. Okay, photos are all downloaded, and real quick, I want to show you why I don't use the video that the drone processed here. Let me go ahead and open up Adobe Premiere, just so I can kind of, you know, show you what you can do with this, and then show you what more you can do with the raw photos. All right, new project. I'm just going to leave it an untitled project because I am going to not need to save this at all. I just want to show you quickly why I don't use these. All right, so we're pulling these over here and make that a little bit bigger. Okay, so there is your file. It is about 10 seconds. It's at 25 frames per second. That's what the drone spits it out as. So you can see here, it's, you know, a pretty cool shot. It's pretty smooth. Like, you almost don't even need stabilization here. I am going to put some on. But just to double check here, the resolution is, oops, wrong button. Resolution here is 1920 by 1440. So it's a little under full HD. Right. So there is your video. I'm going to come down to where it's like that. And then I usually will put some sort of colorista color grading on it. Not colorista, I'm sorry, Lumetri color. And then we'll open up the color panel there. Got our scopes. All right, basic correction. Let's see here. We're going to bring highlights down a little bit, shadows up a bit, a little bit of contrast. Bring down the whites a little bit more saturation, and we'll give it a little temperature adjustment there to a little bit more warmer. We will add sharpen, vibrance. All right, that's already looking pretty good here. But you can see it does jitter a little bit in some spots. Probably hard to see on the screen capture, but it's not perfectly smooth. There's a little bit of jittering there. It was a pretty low wind evening for me, so you definitely want to go out. When you go out, you definitely want to not do high winds, because then you'll have more shakiness in your shots. Okay, so anyways, you know, it looks pretty good. You'll get various results with these, but I'm one of those people that I like a lot of resolution. I like a lot of dynamic range. So let's see here, back to the effects. You can put the warp stabilizer on it. Yeah, this one was pretty smooth, so there's definitely ones that there's a bit more jitteriness in your shots in the raw photos. Okay, or the spit out video. So that one, it processed pretty quickly. So now you can see here, it made it nice and smooth for me. All right, so you could be done there. You can export that, have a slightly less than HD clip, but that is not what I like to do. I like to go, we'll start off here. I open up Photoshop first. Now I'm working with, I think, Photoshop 2021 here, but this will work with pretty much any Photoshop. I usually use Photoshop Raw. I know a lot of people use Lightroom. You can use Lightroom there. Just all that matters is that you're processing the raw photos. I'm just used to using Photoshop Raw because I started using Photoshop years ago, and there was no Lightroom at that time. So there was all you had was Photoshop Raw. And yeah, so I'm just used to it. I haven't converted to Lightroom. So I'm going to go in here into the folder where I have all of my hyperlapse shots here, the raw photos. And we're going to open all of them, all of these raw DNG photos. So depending on your system, it might take a couple minutes for it to pop up here in the Photoshop Raw. I guess we have a new one here. All right. So as you see here, you know, the photos look pretty bland. You know, there's no color popping here. You know, pretty flat. So what I usually do is here I go and I highlight the very first one, go to the end, hold down Shift, and click the last one, and then you highlight all of your photos. So I actually want to see what the last photo is going to look like because that's where I'm going to end. So I'm going to go in reverse there. All right, so now usually what I do is I start in basic here, and funny enough, I always hit auto first just to kind of see what that does for it. And then I like to bring my highlights down quite a bit, pretty much all the way down. And then I like to bring my shadows up here. And then some contrast, I bring that down. And then let's see here, I add some texture, some clarity, some dehazing, a little bit of vibrance, a little bit of saturation, a bit more saturation. Temperature, we can mess with that a little bit. You know, it's kind of like sundown time on a cloudy day, so you can bring it over. See, the great thing about the raw photos is you can really like mess with this color and it won't like break apart. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get a bunch of pixelation and stuff like that. So that looks cool. It's, you know, nice and warm there. And then I like to go to the detail. And I'd like to add some sharpening. Something's processing here, so I like to sharpen it up quite a bit. And then this is new. So if you want to add some noise reduction there, there's an AI noise reduction. I haven't used that before, so I'm not going to try it now. And then, you know, a lot of times too, especially when it gets dark, you'll have some, you know, you'll have to bring up your ISO. So you can always just like noise reduce the color and the luminance noise there. And that'll take care of that. Now, you know, you can get more advanced and really go into like color grading and all that kind of stuff. But I want to keep this tutorial basic, so we're just going to full steam ahead. Now, I don't need to export these as JPEGs or anything like that because when you're done in here, it actually saves all of that information in the raw files for our next step. So I'm going to click Done here and close Photoshop Raw. And then I'm going to click and close Photoshop. And I don't need to keep that open. And then I'm going to open up Adobe After Effects. I know a lot of people use Adobe Premiere, but I just found that Adobe Premiere didn't quite work as well when I'm creating the hyperlapse video portion. So After Effects is what I'm using. Okay, we have opened up After Effects now. I'm going to start a new project. And then I'm going to import, I'm going to import file. And then I'm going to go to where my hyperlapse files are, to my hyperlapse tutorial. And then raw photos, there's the folder. So in here, you actually just need to click the very first photo because you're going to import this as a camera raw sequence. And you're going to have it create a composition as soon as you import it. So I'm going to click import, and then it'll usually open up one of these camera raw dialog boxes, but you've already done that. You've already went into camera raw, and this only gives you the very first frame anyway, which I always thought was weird. So I just click OK and move on. All right, so now we're here. We have imported our hyperlapse raw sequence, and it created a composition right away. So as you see here, it has all of our color edit that we've done here. All right. Something's running a little slow there. Okay. So, you know, it's got to render these frames. These are big old 5.1K photo files. So you could probably hear my computer fan working pretty hard there. So in After Effects, it doesn't really give you real-time previews. You have to actually render. That is one of the downsides of using After Effects. usually if you had like a 1080p video that, you know, wasn't like a high bit rate or bit depth or anything like that, it would probably play it pretty smooth right away. Now that we've loaded in our hyperlapse raw photo sequence, and it still wants to keep doing that, we're going to go here to effects and presets, and we're going to go to distort, and then down to warp stabilizer, and just pop that right on there. All right. Now, most of us, including myself, whenever we've used warp stabilizer, we just throw it on there and we use the default settings, and then, you know, hopefully it, you know, smooths things out for us. But sometimes it doesn't smooth it out, or sometimes it makes it a little too warpy. So what I've learned, I watched some other tutorial from a YouTuber some years ago. Can't remember who that was, but they talked about using less percentages and changing a couple other settings. So you go down here, you can change it from automatic reduction to enhanced reduction. And you can lower this number. Actually, the lower the number sometimes is better. I usually go around 25%, but I'll just go with 25% because that's what I normally do. And then also on the smooth motion, we change that to 25%. So now, here's the thing. This is the long part, is waiting for the computer to stabilize 250 raw photos. So it's going to take a few minutes. So we're on frame 3 of 250. So that's going to take some time. We will probably speed this up for the tutorial. Okay, so that is it. We have stabilized our shot here, and it's just a little tough with the After Effects getting a real-time preview. You see that little green area there is it's rendered frames. I can hit play there and it'll show you a little bit, and it gets there and it's like, oh, I gotta stop there. So, but I have rendered it out already, but let me show you where that is. So when you render that out or export it, whatever you want to call it, go up here to composition, and then we're going to go to add to media encoder, and then that should open up Adobe Media Encoder. Okay, so we have sent the finished stabilized hyperlapse video to Adobe Media Encoder. I like to put it in a different spot than the default setting, so I'm going to put it in my hyperlapse tutorial, and I'm going to call this the Sarasota Opera House Hyperlapse. All right. Then we're going to click save, and then I like to go in here into the export settings. All right, now it opens up this little dialog box here, and it's on the high quality 4K setting, which is what I want, but I don't want it to have these black bars on the sides, so I'm going to click match source, and that should fill up the frame there. It's actually going to make the resolution 5272 by 3948. So we want that because that's the full resolution of that. And what's cool about that is, like, say you're going to do a 4K or a 1080p output in your final video, you know, you can zoom in, pan around, pan and scan just like you could a photo because it's such high resolution. So you can add some additional motion to your shot if you so desire. So I got 30 frames per second. It's progressive. Software encoding is what we're going to have to choose because it doesn't allow me to do hardware encoding for these files for some reason. And then I always change my bitrate encoding. Instead of variable bitrate, VBR, I change it to constant bitrate. And then you can actually boost your bitrate more if you want. I'm going to leave it at 80. But the reason I choose constant bitrate is because whenever you're exporting any kind of videos and you choose variable bitrate, if you have any areas where there's like less information, like in the shadows and the dark areas, sometimes it will make those areas like more pixelated just because there's no detail and stuff in there. So when you do constant bitrate, it just keeps the bitrate constant. So when it hits any dark areas, it doesn't like go, oh, I can use less here because there's less information, there's less detail information. So I always choose constant bitrate, and that always gives like a very nice, high quality look to it. So we click OK, and then we hit the little play button here, and then it's going to export our hyperlapse video. All right, your hyperlapse video is finished exporting here. So I'm gonna minimize these programs, open up my hyperlapse tutorial folder, and here it is, Sarasota Opera House hyperlapse. So we'll double click there and see what that looks like. I don't know why that does that. All right, there is your hyperlapse there. That text just goes away. That's just something the VLC player does, but there's your nice, smooth little hyperlapse. So, you know, after that, I mean, I just showed you the basics there, you know, to get you started. But you get a much better looking hyperlapse shot, in my opinion, with this way, although it is a bit longer in the process here. But I have this other folder here. I can show you some of the other hyperlapses that I did that evening. Let me show you the one that the drone has spit out here. Let me see. Here's one. Let's see if it. See, it's a little bit, you know, wobbly and shaky there. I mean, it was a pretty clear night, you know, like low winds, so it wasn't too bad. So that's what the shot looks like that the drone spits out on its own. I mean, it's okay, right? So now let me show you that one that I processed. See how you have more exposure, more colors. It's a little bit more, or a little bit less, you know, on the wobbly side. We'll play that again. So yeah, smoother, better colors, better exposure. Let's see what else I got here. Art Ovation. So I did this one of this Art Ovation here. You can see that's pretty, you know, wavy, wobbly, kind of from side to side there. And then after I did eye processing, see, way smoother, way better color, way better exposure. You can just do so much more with these raw photos. And then if you saw my the Sarasota Opera House hyperlapse video I posted the other day, I did like a little a loop video where it goes back the way that it came. All I did there was duplicated the clip, put it right next to the first clip, and reversed the second clip so it would do that endless loop there. You know, when you put it on your reels or whatever, it'll just look like it endlessly loops back and forth. Anyways, everybody, thanks so much for watching the tutorial today. I'm so glad I finally was able to make this and share this with everybody. I know some people have been out there wondering what my process was and how I get, you know, some smoother hyperlapses, especially better ones than the ones that the drone spit out. So thanks again for watching, and happy flying.